Gary's Graveyard Gramblings, and episode 29 of the Ramblings, which is in a new location this week. You won't be familiar with this graveyard. This is in the next village, and that beautiful edifice up there with that huge pointy hat type tower is a Norman tower from the 11th century, built, of course, by Norman Wisdom, the famous British comedian, and really very evocative, this one. I'm not sure who's lying in some of these, but look at the sturdiness and sobriety of some of these magnificent edifices. Any roader. I thought we've come to the new location because we're approaching the 30th episode, and I'm going to have to find somewhere spectacular for there. What's the subject then, I don't hear you asking, of today's Graveyard Gramblings? Well, as you know, I don't make up these things in advance. I just kind of go with the flow. And today's flow is going to involve, isn't that fabulous? How dramatic is that? It's a bit sort of almost, hello. It's a bit almost kind of Dracula, isn't it? A bit Frankensteinian. And on that note is the subject, I think, for today's Grambling. And that is Notre Dame Cathedral. The fabulous Gothic edifice, what was burnt to a cinder a few years back, and is in the process of a fabulous rebuild. And I saw a wonderful programme on the telly about it the other night, presented by Lucy Worsley. And it was all about how they're going to spend about £1 billion on tarting it up and restoring it to its former glory. Now, Notre Dame de Paris, or as the Americans would say, Notre Dame. My American accent is beginning to they're probably, if I ever went for an audition in America and they said to me, well, sir, you know, we kind of like you to do an American accent. What can you do? And then I end up doing Notre Dame. They'd say to me, are you trying to be Lee Marvin or a sort of Danny DeVito with a cold? I'm not sure what. But anyway, Notre Dame de Paris, that's Paris, France, is a glorious edifice. And it's somewhere, despite being of the atheist variety, which is why I can't go into the Jesus shop next door, as you well know, where am I going with that, for Christ's sake? I've lost my thread. Anyway, yes, it's somewhere that has always fascinated and thrilled me in its Gothicness and in its creepiness, because it is a very creepy building. And I noticed in the documentary that in tarting it up, they're restoring it to how it would have looked originally, and that's probably clean and fresh, which is not what I associate with Notre Dame de Paris, which has always seemed to be dark and dingy and creepy and smelly and deliciously fabulous, like a sort of French horror film. And of course, Sir Charles Laughton, the famous actor, what played the Hunchback of Notre Dame, used to live in a flat on the roof, you see, and play the bells there. And was in love with Esmeralda, as we all know. But there's an ant. One of the things that they have done to this fabulous place there is restore all of the little private chapels which used to, which still do, presumably, are around the edges bit. So if you had enough money and you were famous enough, you got your own chapel. And they were fabulous, some of these things, really austere and very Pugin in their sort of decoration. And they're restoring them, and they all look like a branch of heels now. You know, they've tarted them up a bit, and I like them as they were. I'm probably even showing you a picture of how they used to be as I speak. And so they're tarting them up and making them look fabulous again. And I'm guessing, just a guess, that when you move forward and it's reopened, they're going to have to put a stop to anything which might actually cause another fire. So, for example, all these priests swinging their handbag, swinging the incense, which always reminds me of Peter Sellers saying that him and Spike Milligan were in a church once when this high church came along, and the priest came in swinging the incense one there, and they were in there with a couple of puffs they knew, and one of them said to him, "Excuse me, do you know your handbag's on fire?" Well, they'll have to cut all that out. They certainly won't be able to do that in there once they've restored it. And I've been going there over to Paris, to Notre Dame, since 1968, when I went there as a spotty school kid on a school trip. And the place thrilled me to the marrow even then. And it'll be lovely to see it back open again. But final tip for this one, because I like to give tips where I can. If you go, you'll notice, and I'm probably going to try and find a picture of one there, outside in the queues are lots of beggar women. They're sort of covered right over, like, and hunched over with half a crutch, begging the crowds. And of course, they all think, "Oh, poor little old lady," and start giving them loads of money. Well, I can tell you, because my friends in northern Paris told me this when I was working over there once, that all of these people originate from camps which are dotted around the outskirts of the city. And they are not broke, and they're certainly not disabled. And he said, "Come over to the window and have a look." So I went over to the look, and I looked over to this piece of spare land, and there were luxurious caravans, 4x4s, Range Rovers, Mercedes, luxury cars everywhere. And every morning, he said, the beggars leave there and they go to work to ply their trade on the bridges and in places like Notre Dame, in the centre of town. And as they were walking down the road, they're walking down, walking perfectly upright, swinging their crutches around and talking and laughing and chatting. It's a scam. So let me tell you now, what I like to do, of course, is go up to them and kick away their crutches and say to them, "Get out of it. Go on, get out of it." Now, I probably don't do that, but it's in my mind. It's what I've always wanted to do. Say, "Go on, get out of it, you old fraud." And on that cheery note, and with the beauty of this Norman church in the next village to me, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to wish you all, I'm going to say, "Esmeralda loves me," and say, "Salute," and I shall see you all for episode 30 in somewhere very special. Toodle pip.